Let's welcome the community to one more episode of Forward After Hours with our lovely co-founders, Mitch, Rankin, and Key, Mr. Key. And today it's quite a special episode, isn't it?
Absolutely. Looking forward to today.
Yes, indeed.
Really going to be good.
It's double special because it's a very special day for, a lot of people, not everyone. But we also have an amazing guest. So I think this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah,
How are you
I think
doing,
it's going to be awesome. Man, I'm doing fantastic. It's Valentine's Day. It's a beautiful day. Day filled with love and excitement and all sorts of things. So I've had a fantastic day with my young bride, and I'm looking forward to a nice evening. And it's just beautiful. And you guys?
No
Key?
Comments.
Okay. Key, over to you.
I'll let you take this one. Go ahead.
Well, Mitch, I guess you're the only one on the call who's really celebrating a Valentine's Day right now.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, but I've had a bit more time, so it's good. You two are both you're both young at heart. You got lots of time.
Yeah,
that's what my mom says.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so what news do we have for the community?
Mitch, why don't you jump on it?
Well, Key, as I said last week, I'm always envious of all the meetings and the exciting things that you're going to in Dubai. It really looks like the happening place. And wow, what a lot of activity this last week, a lot of introductions, new partners, etc. It's funny, I always, we look at the market and we look at all the things that are happening around us, and most of the crypto world is focuses on that. But I'm so excited about the other side of it, which is the actual business side. Meeting new people that are really excited about what we're doing, looking at what we're doing, finding common ground, finding common uses, opening up new avenues, opening up new ideas. And it's amazing. That's the bit that really excites me, because it actually really plays into, what we're creating, which is a long-term business. And I think when people see it and the simplicity of what we're putting together just really expands the use cases and the potential. So it's been good this week. Had some great conversations with some key people. You'll meet them over the next couple of weeks as we introduce them to you on Forward After Hours. And you'll be able to see, what we're really excited about, which is the moving forward and how we're integrating and expanding the whole ecosystem to other people. So that's what's really been exciting to me, Key.
I think, the integration with the ZK Sync was a very exciting one for me, because the ZKP as a technology is pretty much going everywhere. We are looking at a lot of things in the blockchain space, using it to expand its capabilities and number crunching and scalability. And working with the ZK Sync is an amazing opportunity for us as well, because our end goal is scalable adoption, and that can truly happen with great partnership like that. And beyond that, I think some of the new integration partners that we are working on setting the baseline. It's all coming together, because on one side you have this real world interesting partners, and the other side you have scalable solutions. And when both of them merge, it's just amazing. And to top it up, on one fine day, we both had a meeting with our CVVC partners. You were in Cape Town, and I was with their Dubai office here. That was it was a nice time. They have been very good supporters for us, understanding what it is that we do. Even though they come from the traditional space, they have spent substantial amount of time to contribute and to educate even their own community about what we do. And it's been a great ride with them, and the meetings with CVVC has been productive on that part. And I'm just very excited to also welcome some of our newer Inner Circle members. So members in Inner Circle have been active on some interesting partnership building areas, because The event that we're going to be releasing shortly from our side, that is pretty much, I mean, it's creating a good vibes in the community, because we are not only looking at doing something for our brand and just building at Forward, but we are trying to build the entire community together, including the community of our competitors and everyone else in the space, because what we truly care for as a bigger picture is the adoption, is the growth of the space, and what more or how else can it happen unless everyone joins together to do something, removing the boundaries, removing the borders, not really worrying about the divisions of, it's my community and your community, it's blockchain community, we're all in this together. So working together with all those parties is exciting, and I cannot wait for that event to start going out. We already have multiple partners subscribing for it. I'm super excited on that.
Yeah, it's actually really cool when it's funny, a question that people ask us all the time: who's your competition? Trying to find out, like, who's doing other stuff. And we've always had this approach and the idea that we're going to collaborate with everybody and work with an open hand and really embrace and welcome everybody in, because we honestly believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. So when other people do well, we do well. And that's how the whole space is going to grow and is going to become solid, and will really develop into a sector that has substance and is around for a long time. So we really do, love collaborating, reaching out to new people, being open with them, seeing what they're doing, finding ways to integrate forward. And it's great to see the multiple ways and the ideas that are coming out when you've got an open attitude like that, how people respond to it. So it has been great.
And on the Launchpad part, I'm very excited to get the KYC part of it going out shortly. So it's all tested and it all looks good. And in a matter of a few days, we want to get the KYC enabled, so everyone can start getting their KYC sorted out with the sufficient time at hands. So there's no hurry in the last moment. And that's a very good first step towards the go forward side. And beyond that, I've been super pumped and excited about the proof of ownership part. There's been a lot of development going around it, including the architectural side, the smart contract deployment side, the factory side of things, the ERC, both 1155 and 721, both factory and child contracts. The UI portions related to the deployment of it. In fact, right before this call, we just got off from a demo of that, and it's like looking at it in reality, all the things that we've been thinking in white paper, talking about it, drawing the architectural diagrams for, but when we see it in reality, and most importantly when you see it in the most simplest form, it just excites. Because in the recent period, I've been looking at many other solutions as well, wherever possible, in even if it's not directly related, even if it's a bit of a tangent, trying to see if there is anything closer to what we are building at Forward. And every time it's like, it doesn't matter, even developers, they get confused on what is there. It's just so hard. And with our instance, I mean, it's almost like remove 90% of the clutter. If something doesn't make sense, delete it, but then make the flow so much more easier. You come to a page, you just have a couple of options, click this or click that, and what does each of those mean, and then you go to the next step. It's very simple, self-explanatory. The way that I have, I wanted it from the developers tech team is with no notes, no guidance, and no tool tips, nothing, with no pointers of what it is. If someone can understand an application with no help, that's when it's simple. And if you need to have a lot of help and a lot of guidance, then probably there's a problem with it. So that was an amazing place, because the demo that we had no instructions and nothing to guide it. All you get is, you have this couple of things, you can only either do this or do that. And it's just so stripped down without notes. Of course, we'll provide the notes, instructions, and the, in the final output, but I believe when we work on it, it has to be without all of that and still make sense for a normal user. And we have been, that's been growing great so far. And it's almost giving them the same experience of Wix, WordPress, and other things that is seen in the Web 2.0 right here. And yeah, I'm just super excited on that. And the security test parts, the staking parts, all of that, the tests have been excellent and all went through. So I just cannot wait to reveal and put it out there as soon as we can.
Yeah, and I'd say, Key, it's hats off to you and the tech team, because I think that's probably the hardest thing. It's really easy to make something complicated. But to take an idea that we developed and see how it applies and really flesh it out in a way that's simple it's actually not easy. We always tend to overcomplicate things. So it really is hats off to what you guys have achieved. Well done.
And in fact, even from a tech side, we have been working on splitting the repositories in a much more easier format, because what we're really building is not just one application, but a much scalable one. So it is important not only for us, but even for other developers coming in to understand it. So we have upgraded our model of the way we do the sprints and the way we run the inter-team collaboration on that. So we have some very amazing guys, that we recently onboarded with some people with like 7 years, 8 years experience on programming on blockchain and the chain aspect, but not only the smart contracts and etc., but even the chain level experience. So we have such experts with us, and that is making things even incredibly efficient, I would say. I wouldn't necessarily just say faster, but it reduces the time in furthermore research areas, but helps us to maximize this productivity and speed on that. And that's been fantastic. And the chain portion by itself, which is sitting in our private testnet, that has been exciting me as well, because right now you can deploy and test things on the chain. You can run smart contracts on the chain. It obviously, something like chain takes incredibly longer time to be out. Because obviously you can just spin off a basic chain and get something run in in a short period. But then if you want to build something with the right consensus model, which is stronger, it takes time. More importantly, the biggest time that goes in there is to test it, to just leave it there, to run it, to try various combinations and see how it lives through and how it processes. So that part has been also another great area of addition. So yeah, I mean, with all these different developments, I know you signed a couple of MOUs as well, which will push out in our upcoming update, and all of that is just just exciting me by the day. And we have from tomorrow, we have some hackathons happening here in Dubai. We have Vertex event happening as well for the next 3 days. So those are all amazing. And next week we have an Agora's event as well, where there is a lot of opportunities to meet amazing talents and so on. But in the hackathon, I hope to find even more amazing developer gems as well. I mean, to be honest, on the developer side, I cannot wait to visit ETH Dubai by end of March. I have been talking to the members of the team and in private and whatnot, and that's a place where it's not a conference with 10,000 people, but 500, 600 people, but then they're all techies, developers, DeFi guys. And what more pleasure can you have than being with the guys who are creating coding every day? And all those things are exciting things to look forward to from my end.
Absolutely.
So with all the tech updates that you just gave us, do you think that the roadmap is something that we're going to be sticking to?
In fact, we are moving a little more
Very
faster
fast.
than the roadmap that we initially projected. But at the same time, it's like this. We had a narrow items. For example, let's say take a proof of ownership. We wanted to do this, but right now we are expanding that scope within the proof of ownership a bit bigger, and still we are progressing on time. So I would say we are moving faster and more efficient on the time scale. So yeah, definitely very excited on that.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's take a step back. We were talking about partnerships before, and today's guest is actually a partner of ours. And Mitch, would you like to tell us a little bit about our partner?
Yeah, absolutely. We got to chat to Navid a couple of weeks ago. His name is Navid Moosa. He's got 20 years experience in the real estate industry in the States, in America, and not only hands-on with property and dealing with tenants and investors, etc., but he's actually developed a course as well. And that course has been very instrumental in helping lots of other people get into the space and to be able to access and develop real estate assets. And when I first got to chat to him, we started exploring how there could be some synergy between what we do and a real world business like what he has. He's very experienced. He knows what he's talking about inside out, to the degree that he's actually been able to encapsulate it in a course and teach other people his knowledge, which is often very rare. Sometimes you get experts that know how to do things, but they can't communicate and teach it. Chatting to him, finding out what he's doing, what his plans are, and seeing how we can integrate forward and work on a solution together.
Okay, very excited to have our partner meet the community.
Absolutely.
Let's welcome.
There you go.
Hello, hello.
Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
How's everyone doing?
Hey, Navid, how are you?
Great.
Good, sir. How are you, Mitch?
Yeah, very good, man. We're excited to chat to you this afternoon. Really
Likewise.
good. Thanks for being here.
Nope. Thanks for making the time. I appreciate it.
Okay, so Mitch already gave us a brief introduction about you and what you do, but we would love to hear some words from you as well.
Sure. So my name is Navid Moosa. I'm founder of navidmoosa.com, and I have a podcast called The Mindset Movement. I have been in real estate for about 20 years. I've been licensed for over 15 of those years. I initially started out like most agents, buying and selling real estate, representing clients. But instead of representing traditional home buyers and traditional home sellers, I was working with bank-owned properties, foreclosed homes, distressed assets. That's what always I've been kind of drawn to from the beginning. Now I've kind of gone into the, I have gone into the coaching and educating of real estate, some of the basic fundamentals, because no matter what is out there, you always have the fundamentals. They never go away, right? There's always going to be a house hack or some kind of niche or whatever that comes up. That's fine. They're all good. They all work, but the fundamentals, they tend to disappear. People forget about them. And then they think that they have lost their passion for real estate, when it's not that. It's just that they go chasing so many shiny objects, they forget about the fundamentals. So I kind of feel like what I'm drawn to, my passion or my calling is to kind of bring people back saying, listen, it's always here. It's never going to leave you. You just leave it. And so let's bring that connection back.
Magic.
Okay. So why did you choose the field of real estate? What drew you to it in the beginning?
Actually, I didn't pick it. So I was in banking for about 5 years, and my brother got tired of me talking about real estate. I was just talking about it, and he was so sick and tired of me talking about real estate that he said, you know what? For my birthday, he bought me the course and said, here, shut up. Stop talking about it. Just take the damn course, So I said, okay. So I did, and I took it and I passed, I did it on the exam, but what's the test? A test just means you know how to take a test and memorize studying. That's it. Test doesn't mean anything. And he said, listen, I've got a guy who I deal with. Maybe you can help him out. And so I did. And the rest, as they say, is history. People just always said I was a good salesman. And to me, trying to convince somebody to buy something wasn't very attractive. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. But they said that's why it's so good for you, because you don't do that. You just have a passion for what you talk about. So whether it's fashion or watches or cars or electronics, you talk about it in such a passionate way that it makes us want to go ahead and do what you're telling us to do. And so with real estate, I was always intrigued by the so many different avenues that it could provide for your family. All right. Obviously, they're buying, selling, you have a house to live in. But if you need to relocate, well, you could rent that house out, or if, you could rent a room out, or you could build it in back and build an additional unit. So it was one product that had so many verticals. That's what attracted me to it in that regards. But as far as becoming a real estate salesperson, I never really had a knack for that. That was never my intent, to be honest.
Okay, amazing. Okay, and so at what point did you decide that, I know this well enough to actually teach it?
So I still question myself. I'm not going to lie. I do. But I get so many people come up to me asking me questions. And maybe, Mitch and Key, and even you, Dana, maybe you can even understand this. When you do something for so long, it's second nature. And so you make the assumption that because you know it, everybody else knows it.
Yeah.
And that's not the case, right? It isn't. And so what was in my own mind was that, well, I did foreclosures, I did short sales, I did distressed assets, and I'm a real estate agent. So every real estate agent should know this. But that wasn't the case. That just wasn't. And I would get so many people saying, hey, I have a question. I'm thinking to myself, why don't you know this? Why don't you know this? And then that's when the aha moment, the moment epiphany kicks in and goes, you're different. You're different. You should embrace why you're different. Don't fight it. Don't run away from it. Embrace it. People are asking you for a reason, not because they can't Google it. It's because you're accessible. You could easily relate to them, and you understand what it is. Nothing against Google. I'm on Google all day too, and I Google stuff. But Google is just it's not a human element. But when you ask an individual, when you ask Mitch or Key about Web 3.0 or WordPress or blockchain, you get that element. Like, they don't just say, here's what it is. They say, well, Navid, what do you do? And then they put it in terms that I can understand. And I think that's where it kind of kicked in for me. It was, you can find this information out, but you can't find the information out on how it pertains to you. And so when I got more and more of those questions, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should embrace this and create something that more people than I realize actually need and want.
Yeah. That actually makes a lot of sense. And Navid, it's, I think so many people just blunder through life without any literacy, like financial literacy, and like, for example, in the real estate field, and yet with a few pointers and learning what to do, they could change their financial outcome and create a passive income and all sorts of things just with a few fundamental tweaks. And I'm sure that's exactly what you teach them, is just getting them started on the right road. So what are the sort of key fundamentals that you look at when you are teaching somebody about real estate? How do you start?
So I think the basics is you never want to sell a product. Number one, and I tell all my agents, the key fundamental is, how can I help? If that's the mindset you go in with the mindset of, how can I help you accomplish in real estate what you want to accomplish? Then everything else kind of just falls into place after that. If you don't ask those questions, right? And those are that's the basic fundamental of real estate. I like to think almost anything you do when you provide a service is, how can I help? And once we understand, we listen to the person, like, don't just ask that question just so you can say, well, how can I help? But in the background, you're like, how can I help you make me money? Right? If that's in your background, you're never really going to go forward. If you just say,
that's right,
how can I legitimately help you? And then, I'm a believer of God, and I think everything always gets paid back one way or another. So I honestly feel that the fundamentals to any agent, whether you're new, whether you're 10, 20 years in the industry, if you ever feel you don't know what you're doing, take a deep breath. Everything's going to be okay. And just ask the client, what is it I can do to help you out? What is it? Why did you call me? And then let everything else just kind of play out from there. But that's the most fundamental thing I teach all my agents. And as easy and as basic as that sounds, it's not. It is. I'm finding out that, when you go to traditional schools, when you go to the traditional route, they're not teaching, how can I help? They're teaching, how do you properly fill out a piece of paper so you're compliant, right? It's all about protecting yourself. And I get that. That's fine. Nothing goes wrong with that. You should protect yourselves, right? I get that. We all have families and lives we want to live. But at one point in time, do you say, okay, let me put this person in front of me, so I can provide a service, and then my name could also be something that's associated with good, and kind of take it from there.
Makes sense.
So as a real estate educator, what are some of the challenges that you faced so far?
The biggest challenge is the mindset of a lot of the agents. So as an educator in that space, the biggest challenge I face is when you go to school, you're not taught a mindset. Like I stated before, you're taught to simply fill out a piece of paper to represent them as a seller, fill out a piece of paper to represent them as a buyer, and about disclosure. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But there's more to that. And if you're in the industry for 20 years, I mean, listen, how many times have we all of us on this call, on this live call, how we come across somebody who says, well, I've been in the business for 10 years. I've been in the business for 20 years. And they say that like, hey, I've been in it for 20 years. I know what I'm talking about. Don't tell me. Right. Okay. Well, when you're sinking over there, instead of swimming, then come see me. Right at that point, that's what happens. So I think that's the biggest thing, Dana, Dana, that's the biggest thing is shifting their mindset that, hey, you can teach an old dog new tricks. It's possible. It's doable. You just have to understand what kind of food does that old dog like. You have to understand what they actually, are going to respond to. So you always have to have an open mind. You never want to take the cookie cutter approach. Just because I talked to Mitch and explained to Mitch how it is to invest in real estate doesn't mean it's the same explanation I would give to Key, and vice versa, right? I have to understand their story, their background, what their interests are. And a lot of the times we're so worried about, again, the compliance part of it, which you should. That compliance part just kind of overshadows the human element of it. And so I try my best to pull that human element out of the person and saying it's there, it's in you. You just haven't had the opportunity for that element to be tapped into, right? Every night when my kids go to bed, we say a prayer. And part of that prayer is, it says, God, please teach us patience. God, we're not given patience because we ask for it. We're giving opportunities to show if we're being patient enough or not. So the opportunity, these students are so lost, unfortunately. They're like, well, I just want to do this. I just want to buy a house. I just want to flip a house. I just want to become a landlord. Okay, but no one's giving me a shot. How do you know what that looks like? You don't know what that opportunity looks like if you're looking for it in your vision. Expand your vision. Maybe the opportunity is there. It's just not talking to you in a language you understand because you're so closed-minded.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, indeed. Very well said.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about it, but we don't have enough time. So the mindset's an amazing thing. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. It is. It's just an amazing thing and how powerful it is.
And I think we can listen to you for hours. You really are a very inspiring speaker. So that's another part that you're doing as well, right? You have a podcast, and yes, everyone who is interested can listen to you there, right?
Yeah. So the podcast is started during the pandemic in 2020. So we were officially shut down March of 2020 here, and right prior to that, at around January, February of 2020 is when I started saying, you know what? Like I said earlier on, was that a lot of people are asking me questions about real estate, and I'm thinking, you know what? I do have a lot to offer, I believe. So let me get it out there. And the podcast was the natural thing that I kind of drifted towards. So the initial podcast, when I first started, was for real estate agents only. That's it. Is if you're a real estate agent, listen to my podcast. As that podcast had gone on, like I said, we launched first episode was January of 2020. As it went on, my listeners would send me emails, contact me one way or another, and saying, can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? But it was beyond real estate. It was about being a small business owner. So I had people who were like, for example, truck drivers who wanted to get into real estate. I had people who were RNs, nurses, registered nurses who wanted to get into real estate, and they wanted to figure out how they could leverage their job to get into real estate. And I never thought about that. I knew how to do it, but again, I'm thinking I know, and everyone else knows the same thing. So why talk about it? So these questions forced me to get out of my comfort zone, which God bless, I'm glad these questions came about. So now the podcast has evolved to not just real estate agents, but to anybody who is a small business owner or who's thinking about becoming a small business owner, what your mindset should be when you're going into it. You know, how to look at things as, you know, what's an expense versus a liability versus an asset. What does it mean to be customer service oriented? What does it mean for leverage? I mean, think about it. None of us like paying taxes, but we want to be in a portion where if we're making enough money, we have taxes to pay, right? Because if you're a profitable business, that means you have taxes to pay on that business.
Yeah, right.
But right, think about that. But all this time, if you're in a W-2 mentality, it's like, oh, how can I keep my money? How can I give less tax? I want a refund. I want a refund. But you're a business owner now. As a business owner, there are things that need to get satisfied by the government, and that's okay. If you're paying into taxes, that means you're a profitable business. So it's a mind shift that we go through. And I talk about that in the podcast, which ironically, this Wednesday will be the 100th episode that comes out on it. So we're very happy. Thank you. Very happy, very proud of that. That's a 100th episode coming out.
Yeah, congrats, man. That's a milestone, eh? Jeez.
Thank you. Yeah, it was.
Amazing.
It's
definitely.
So funny. The room next door is where we started it all, right? So it's this room now. It's this room, and I now have the whole building now, and we built it out. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's what the podcast is about. It talks about work-life balance. It talks about a single parent. If you're a single father, single mother, doesn't matter. How do you integrate your children into your business? Not that you bring them to work and they work for you, but how can you integrate your child's activities around your work activities? You know, quick example, my clients don't know if I have an appointment at my son's soccer game. They just know I have a 4:00 appointment that I can't attend to their appointment. That's all.
Yeah.
Right. It's just little things like that go a long way, that keep your client, okay, this guy's busy. When really I'm on the soccer field yelling at the coach because he missed the call or something like that. That's what I'm actually doing.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. So
your podcast, is it weekly?
It's a weekly podcast
Mitch,
it's a weekly podcast that goes every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern time is when it gets out there.
Okay. So, Mitch, you want to ask something?
No. I was just going to ask about the podcast, but you beat me to it.
Okay. So, you have this amazing mentality, this amazing business, and all those endeavors that you're involved in. So how does Forward Protocol fit into all that? And even before that, how did you get in touch with crypto and blockchain, and what happened there? When did you make the jump, and how?
So I've been a crypto investor since 2015, 2016 for years. I was always buying something, Ether, Bitcoin, whatever is out there, stuff like that, so many different wallets, so on and so forth. But I was doing it because a friend of mine who was in the space said, hey, listen, you need to do this stuff. And he's a great investor. He's my business partner. And he said, listen, you need to do these things. So I did them, kind of one of those things. This is your thing. You say, do it, I'll do it. And then I kept seeing things online, hearing things about, different crypto strategies and, how crypto basically becomes like day trading and all these things. And that's all fine. But I didn't want to be behind the curve. Right. It was when you're growing up, like, I was born in the 70s. So when you're growing up and then you're in the 90s, you see the opportunities and you hear about, like the internet and, www. And back then I didn't care about that stuff. I just care about cars and food and girls. That was it. That was on my mind. And so, and I'm like, okay, but now I'm seeing the people who did care about that, how they're living a comfortable life, and not necessarily with, big fancy cars and houses, but they're paying it forward. Like they're really, really giving forward. They're making a huge impact, and they understand life is bigger than themselves. And so when I heard this talk, and it was like, okay, this gave that same feeling again. So I was like, I want to be part of it. I'm married, so I don't need no more girls. I'm good with that. I've got a car that I love, so I'm good with that. So I'm like, I got to do bigger than me. So how do I get to that portion? And that's ironically, we have Mitch and I have a common associate here in the States. And it's kind of a friend of a friend of a friend kind of connection, if you will. And so we were at a meeting talking about like helium and the strong coin and coin market cap, talking about all these crypto items and the crypto market. And during that conversation, two gentlemen who were there were sitting there and they were scratching their heads because they had made all this money. They had this business, but they didn't have a business structure, which I found mind-boggling. Like, how do you have this but not have your fundamentals of your business structure down? So we got into a conversation and they're asking me questions and I'm ripping off answers left and right. And they looked at me with like, you know what you're doing, huh? And I'm like, I think so. I have a little bit of experience in this and building businesses. So we sat and talked. And after we were done, they said, listen, how much do you want for your service? I said, I don't want anything. I don't. I need help. I have a course that I created. I'm just trying to find a way to get it out there to more people in the space of, but while using blockchain technology. But I don't know how to do that. I know whatever bits and pieces that you read on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. But let's be honest, just as much as evidence, if you have that NFTs is the wave of the future, you have just as much as evidence saying NFT is going to crash and burn, so don't touch it, right? But at the essence of everything, crypto, NFTs, whatever, blockchain kept coming. I kept hearing it. And then smart contracts. I kept hearing smart contracts on blockchain. I'm like, okay. So when I'm talking to these gentlemen about it, they said, we have somebody you think you should meet, that we think this can really put you in touch with their audience you want to get into and how you can leverage and educate yourself about smart contracts and blockchain while talking about your passion, which is people in real estate. And that's when introduction was made to Key and Mitch. And we met twice, just like this. And I think after the first meeting, I was sold. I was like, yeah, let's do this. Like, you can just kind of feel energy from a certain person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You can just saying you're finishing each other's sentences and you understand, like it's like a well-oiled machine. You're clicking. Everything is like, oh man, this is okay. This is everything I was hoping for and a lot easier. Just as I had said earlier, how I need to listen to, Key or Mitch or you in regards to how to teach educating real estate. Mitch had to listen to me. Key had to listen to me to see how to be comfortable saying, hey, listen, you have a product, a good product, a solid product, and you want to help it take it to this next level. Here's how we can do that. It wasn't a cookie cutter response. It was something that was custom made to me, to my audience, and it was without effort. And that's why I loved it. It was a very effortless conversation. It wasn't that we were trying to pull information out of each other. It was like as if we've known each other for years. And that's what sold me on the whole thing.
So do you see a future for real estate on blockchain?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Recently, actually, in I think it's Tampa, Florida, a home was just sold as an NFT. Right. Mm-hmm. So that just tells you. And years ago, a house was sold and the whole transaction was done with Bitcoin. So that has already taken place already. There's a gentleman on a podcast who wanted to do a transaction with using cryptocurrency, and he had to create a title company. He had to do a whole bunch of steps basically to do everything, but he was able to do it. And so we were like, wow, this is not going anywhere anytime. And then I heard about smart contracts and how smart contracts can be anybody to somebody who's like a personal trainer. A personal trainer can do a smart contract with their client. And it can just have so many, like real estate, which has so many verticals of how you can make money. Smart contracts and blockchain has so many verticals that you can take a transaction that could take days or weeks and it could be done in a matter of minutes, but you have to open your mind to understand that. A lot of people could think that this is a one night stand, a flash in the pants, or just a shiny something. It's not that. This is something that I don't want to regret saying 10 years from today, man, I would have done that. I don't want to be the guy that's saying, what if? I don't like being the what if guy. So I was like, I got to get on this and I got to get on it now. And it's going to push me out of my comfort zone. I get it. I understand that. But just as my students push me out of my comfort zone by asking questions on the podcast, just as the people in the real estate industry push me out of my comfort zone to be a coach, those things worked out pretty damn well. So I'm hoping this will be the same result.
Yeah.
No, maybe I can just, you know what I want to do is I just want to give a practical example because Navid and we had a really nice chat about how it could actually fit into his particular training, because he's got amazing courses and great information. And, to get that out to people is important, and that's on his heart. So, the one thing is that we understand that someone like Navid has got amazing information, and there's a lot of people out there that need that information. But all of us, right across the board, have got very short attention spans. And, with online courses and things, we start things and we never actually finish them. And so what we spoke about was how we could use a smart contract to incentivize the transfer of knowledge from Navid's courses through to the student that actually needs it. And on the completion of that courses, how he would fund a reward in that process. And he'll work through that and figure it out for his business model. But it was really exciting because I could see how in an industry that really can fundamentally change your life, a bricks and mortar business where you're learning and you can still have a day job and learn and actually grow and put an asset together, you could utilize a smart contract to incentivize that exchange of knowledge. And that's what Forward would actually provide for Navid is a template-based system where he doesn't have to worry about coding or capital infrastructure or development timelines. It's just a drag and drop where he can integrate that into his environment and use that to actually grow a base of students, to grow his product base and to get the knowledge that is there across to the people that need it. And I think that's the essence of it. That's what really makes it important. It's this synergy. And, Navid's got a traditional business in the world. He's got a heart for blockchain and Web3. And most of the clients that he deals with would be people that don't really understand what Web3 is. And they can utilize this interface that Forward provides to actually utilize the power and get the benefits, etc., without having to learn all of that. And I think we're going to have some great conversations, Navid, about how to put this together and how it's going to work. And I really look forward to seeing how it develops in your business, in your environment, and the applications. I think it's going to be so cool. Yeah, it's going to be magic.
Yeah, Mitch gave me a lot of good ideas and stuff like that about how to reward. And the reason how that came up was back around Thanksgiving time in November here in the States in 2021, I had said, okay, you know what? I'm going to give my course away for free just to get it out there a little bit more to kind of totally impact. I think about 30 to 40 people signed up. Only 2 people completed the course.
Yeah.
That was it. And here's the thing. It's like, well, give me what we said before, give me an opportunity, give me a chance. Well, here's your chance. I can't take the course for you. You have to take the course. Yeah. Right. And there's a phrase called skin in the game. And so when something is free, you don't really appreciate it. But when it's gone, then you're like, oh, okay. And so what Mitch is telling me, I'm like, hey, he's made a great sense. Like if they finish this first one, we can do this and then, give something back or whatever. And it was like, I couldn't stop thinking. Like I was talking about Mitch, like he was my BFF, like that day at home, the rest of the night. I'm like, I had all these ideas. I'm like, oh man, you could. And that's the beauty of blockchain. I think that's the beauty of blockchain or the smart contracts, however you want to phrase it, is that just when you think it works in this one space and you apply, then you're like, wait a minute, if it works here, then it could work here. And then it could work over here. And then it doesn't stop. It's just like, this thing that just keeps growing and growing in a good way, right? It spreads, but in a good way. And you're like, wow, like now I have several businesses that I own and I'm already thinking, how can I implement this into my other businesses? And it's all about the speed of it too. That's an amazing thing. It's just amazing. That's the only word I could think of when it comes to smart contracts and blockchains. It's an almost endless amount of possibilities. And we're at the infancies of it. Like we're so young in that stage right now that it's mind blowing on so many levels.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait to see what
Sorry, Mitch. I think
No,
I have a
just-
delay,
I
so I keep
just-
talking over you. I'm so sorry.
That's it. No, just say, Navid is so enthusiastic. I can't wait to see what he puts together and how we work together with Forward and integrating into his platform. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, look forward to it.
I think, from my perspective, not only the way the course is designed and delivered, but the subject matter of the course, I believe in the future, he could be the guiding light for anyone in the real estate space to use blockchain, tokenize things, how to go about using blockchain and the entire technology in making lives easier. I've been, in Dubai a couple of days back, I had an interesting conversation with a guy who is selling an entire floor, and he's selling that as as an NFT, but then he's also creating a legally binding contract. So there is a custodian who owns the title deeds, and then they are only a custodian, but the ownership is retained with the NFT holder. And at any point in time, anyone who's holding that NFT, who's owner, because it could have been sold few times, they can come to the custodian and given this and show this NFT and get a title deed registered in their name, which they can use in any government office and do what they want with it.
Yep.
And it's amazing. Right now, I don't have to be there. I don't have to sign papers. I just need to own my NFT in any part of the world. I can sell it to anybody. I don't have to go and sign papers or go through
Exactly.
any challenges. Just done with it. If I really need the title deed, go there and get it. But the custodian is still not the owner of it, because the agreement still binds them to only be the
Correct.
custodian of the asset holder. And that's just, that's amazing. And that's happening in Dubai right now. And they're testing it on one floor as a pilot. And with the next steps of tokenizing real estate assets, I believe the future is exponentially bigger. The ability for funds to be raised, for people to co-own things. It's almost like
Absolutely,
an Airbnb on steroids.
Yeah,
I don't know how
exactly.
to define that.
No, you're right. Airbnb, crowdfund, everything. It just takes it to that whole different level.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, the only hesitation we have is I have to fly here. I have to sign this. I have to get notarized in public. All this stuff has to be done. You guys have eliminated all that stuff. This tech is eliminated, where verification of the old school's way of you being in front of me being in front of you, it's eliminated. It's still authentic. The person using, that's really about it. And to Mitch's comment before, we have a very small time span of when we look at something, your interaction, but that small time span goes on to different avenues, whether you're signing a document or when you need to wait for something or whatever. It's just like, why do I have to wait on this particular day to do a real estate transaction when everybody else who's part of the transaction is ready to go? But because we have this old antiquated way of, well, this paper has to be signed in person, and this, we need to make sure fraud doesn't make, and this has to happen. Are you kidding me? We've done all these other technology and we can't find a way to automate in this today's seamless.
Yeah.
I can plug in right now. I'm talking to you guys on my laptop and I have two monitors here. I can literally plug in one plug and I've got three screens, right? I got three like that. Why can't we just find a plugin and we bring 3 or 4 companies or people together? Like, it's really, I'm not saying it's that simple, but it can be that simple if people just understand what blockchain and smart contracts are really about. It's more than just, verifying a coin transaction. We're past that. We're past that.
Yeah, 100%.
And one of the biggest challenges that I've seen in the whole space is it is an asset that you get. It's illiquid, which ideally means people have to think a lot. They might have to think months, years at times before buying it, because they cannot do anything else with it. They get stuck with it. But with this tokenization approach, you can buy and you can liquidate easily, sell small portions out. You can do a lot with it, and that kind of makes the asset so much more easier, accessible, and something that anyone and everyone can hold, even for short term, not necessarily for long term. It just opens newer opportunities for them. And connecting it with something like DeFi, it just even makes it more amazing with how people can park their money on real estate assets for growth as well, and not just waiting and holding on, the lending protocols, but real estate is an liquid asset where they can invest and grow their monies.
Yeah, I mean,
that actually just blows it right open.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and to piggyback off your comment, Key, the shift of wealth that could happen in this space right now is incredible. It was always like, the good old boys club, or you need to know somebody to know somebody to know somebody to get into some of these investment opportunities. That's gone. It can be gone. It definitely can be gone. And it can just, and you have obviously, last year was the retail traders, when it comes to stock market discussions, retail trade, all that kind of stuff, it's just fine. And the money that was there, money that was made, and money that was lost. But this whole tokenization discussion just brings up that, do you realize that at your young age, if you embrace all this information that's out there, that really by the age of potentially 35, 40 years old, you could just be living wherever you want to live. Meanwhile, funds are going back and forth, and you're owning this asset and this campground and this high rise and this thing, or whatever it is, you're owning just so many different things while you're still enjoying your life. You don't have to quote unquote work, the traditional ways of working. And, people think, well, if this was Web 3.0, Web 2.0, Web 1, but if it's not different, what makes it so different at the same time? It's like, well, understand, with the boom of social media, this information has been out there, but it's not been accessible to the masses the way it is now. And everybody has 24 hours in the day. You can watch pictures of cat hanging and dogs licking themselves or whatever, or you can turn around and actually educate yourself and be like, hey, I want to learn about this. It can be overload. I get that, but have some self-discipline and say, okay, this is enough information. Let me actually take in what I watched and put it into my own terms. I tell my students and my team members, I never ever want to hear you say you don't have enough time in the day. That just means you're not utilizing your time in the day. We all have 24 hours. I get up at 4:30 every single day because I know I'm more effective that way. If I get up at 6, that's it, my day's shot. It is. So we all have 24 hours. So I don't want to hear, well, you can do that. No, I choose to do this, just like we all choose to do what we want to do. So if you want to complain, go somewhere else. But this stuff here, what you guys are teaching and what you can unleash, oh my goodness, the boundaries are limitless.
And I think, with one thing that you rightly said, in the past, you need to know people to get into deals. Right now, you still need to know, but not people, the knowledge, access to information, which is all open, available out there. But like you said, putting the time and taking the control out of, from other people, other things happening out there to oneself, learning it so that they can actually go and make the right choices. And learning is more vital right now than any time in the history. At any point. I mean, that is a big shift of responsibility, big shift of power, and only the ones who put in that effort would be able to mine it.
Yeah, nice. I like how you said that. That's a crypto joke. Sorry, guys.
I think even the real estate space is moving more towards an experiential thing right now, which is another interesting part, because the convergence of the NFTs, the DeFi, the blockchain and metaverse, all of that, it's going beyond just utility, but even to an experience. How do people experience something? How can they express that experience? That people are social animals and they like to experience it, whether it is their activity, whether it's their photos, creating creating a world out there in metaverse virtually, where people can share something that they experienced in a particular locality and whatnot. But when they bring experience into something like real estate, the value is actually much more than a traditional value. In the past, the value is limited to what an asset is or what the future growth are. But right now, you also have experience on top of it to build on it. And, it's a new world that is being built.
And to kind of piggyback off that same statement, there was, like you had said, what's the value of stuff? I think that was the hardest thing for me initially to understand. Like, why is this picture of this ape wearing a gold chain worth X amount of dollars, right? But it's more than that, right? It's not just that. It's the utility that comes with it. Like, it gets you into this networking event or this party or this person, and which does kind of go back into, okay, well, you get you into the right social groups, if you will. But we have, in my opinion, no one has to do anything, obviously, but I strongly believe that we have to look past when you look at something and saying, well, this is not worth it to me. Okay, but if you open up your mind, it's definitely worth a lot more than just what you're looking at right there and then, right? It's almost like, when you have a conversation with your dad or your mom and you say, I'm going to buy this, and they say, that costs how much? Well, when I grew up, it only cost this much. I was like, well, time has changed since then, Pop. So, and I don't want to be that dad to my son says, this is this, my son. So just to give you an idea, I just got on TikTok finally after procrastinating. So I started making TikTok videos, but I got stuck with doing words on it. And my son says, well, here's how you do it. And I was like, how did you know this? And he was like, well, it's simple. And I'm like, no, to you, it's simple. To me, it's not simple, right? And that's where all this technology is. It's just, if you just want to go learn by yourself, fine, go ahead. But you're going to get so frustrated that it's not going to make sense. And then you're going to think it's a piece of junk. It's just going to go away. When if you admit to yourself, hey, listen, I need help. I need help understanding this. Like, have some humility, humble yourself and say, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. It's okay if I ask for help. And then just start off with that. And then you're saying, now the information can come into you. But if you have that hold off, like, I like my fiat money. I like to touch the money and stuff like that. Okay, that's fine. But the counter argument I have to people when they say, well, this, the NFT, I can't own it. I can't touch it. All right, let me ask you this. When was the last time you actually cashed a paycheck? That's all I ask. When was the last time you cashed a paycheck? They're like, well, I don't cash my paycheck. It's direct debit. It's direct deposit. Aha. So have you seen that cash? Well, I can go to the ATM and I can look at I can go on my online banking. No. My question was, have you seen the money? You know how much you have because they tell you how much you have. But have you actually touched that coin? Have you touched the dollar bill? No. You trust that a transaction took back from this and it went into your bank account. You haven't seen the money, have you? Once you give them that question, then they go, oh, yeah, you're right. You haven't touched cash in how long? No one has touched cash in how long? It went from direct deposits to debit cards to credit cards to a point where you can write a check and then scan the image of that check and get it deposited. No one sees the cash. So when people turn around and saying, I can't see the NFT, I can't hold my NFT, I can't hold the crypto in my hand, I say, bullshit. You're scared. You are scared, and that's what it is. And it's okay to be scared. Just put your defenses down, put your guard down, and embrace what's out there and educate yourself. Right? A lot of times we say, yeah, we don't want to ask for help because if we ask for help, then we're inferior. Right? If we say we want to ask for help, we're acknowledging there's a fault in us. So what? Everyone asks for help. Get over yourself. You're not that important. You're not. It's okay. So that's what I love about this tech is that it's out there for you, but you got to go get it. And it's so diverse.
Very well said.
Yes,
Very well said.
really amazing. I really love the mentality. I really want to thank you so much for being with us and sharing your insights. You've been amazing to talk to and listen to.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
I really hope that we will get to do this again soon. Please let us know of any final words that you have for us or the community.
No, listen, if you're listening to this, you guys are at the right space. You guys are at the right time. You're going to second guess yourself. You're going to doubt yourself. That's okay. That's just human nature. It is. Just question yourself on why you're doubting yourself. If you're doubting yourself because you're lacking the education, then go get the education. If you're doubting yourself or second guessing yourself because somebody else from the peanut galleries behind you saying, don't do it, look at their life. And if you want their life, then you do what they're doing. But if you want a different, a better, a more elevated life, then stay your path. Stay the path with this group, stay the path of what they're teaching with Forward Protocol and everything they have going on. All I can tell you is that I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. And I hope you just, join us for the ride. I know I am.
Hey, Navid, thanks, man. Really amazing chatting to you. Look so forward to working together in the future.
Likewise. Thanks for your time. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much.
You will.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.